As we head into the final parts of 2024, it's pretty clear that one of the most popular and probably one of the most important Chromebook releases of the year has been the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus. It's a device that clearly I like a lot. A lot of you seem to like it a lot, and we reviewed very favorably. And we were lucky enough to sit down with Samsung Senior Product Manager Rafael Diori and ask some questions about how Samsung went about making the decisions that they made specifically for this device, and how the entire genesis of the project came about.
You all guys know, Samsung was one of the first to pioneer a premium Chromebook, right? The Chromebook and Chromebook 2, Terra Q products were the first one of their kind. It was the first time that we introduced a real premium experience to the Chromebook space overall. Before it was your basic low-end Chromebook for education purposes, for having on the house, which is fine, by the way. But we really brought our strategy around premium first for PCs into Chromebooks. It had the QLED, which is awesome. It had the really nice full aluminum body, the S Pen built in, and it was one of the first kind of products of its kind. And it was launched towards, at least Chromebook 2 came in around just before the pandemic, right? And we saw a seismic shift in the PC industry during that time. So there was a couple years of astronomical growth, followed by a correction period, right? And as I was mentioning before, part of our role is really to understand insight, to understand what the market is doing. And we definitely saw there was a lot of turmoil in the market. At that time also, we saw that within the Chromebook space, there would be limitations in terms of additional experiences beyond what we've launched already, right? You wouldn't have, Chromebook Plus didn't really exist a couple years ago. So when we started the conversations with Google around, hey, we're introducing this new tier of product, the Chromebook Plus, intended to double memory, double storage, double performance, and really give Chromebooks a space within the premium market, that's when this conversation started to kick off. And as you guys know, we have a relationship with Google that transcends across not just PCs, obviously our smartphones, our tablets, watches, and even some of our other home appliances and stuff leverage Google technology. But the way that we really position it is the union of great minds. It's the union of Samsung and their hardware heritage around building really nice, really premium devices, and then how can we bring in Google's experience with software, everything they do with Chrome OS, and everything they're doing now with the addition of AI, which is enabling all of these use cases, right? I talked about that seismic shift. We do a lot of market research and all this stuff, and it's not just the shift in the PC industry, it's also the usage habits. And again, I'm sure you guys know, coming out of the pandemic, we were seeing a lot more younger people using PCs on a daily basis. We're seeing consumers use these devices more for communication. I think there was a statistic that communication by video conferencing 50x coming out of this, right? Yeah. We're seeing consumers use these devices more for creating content, for gaming, even for streaming content. Streaming gaming has become a huge thing, right? All of these are tasks that are perfect on Chromebook. It's quick on, you have all the information there, it's very easy to access all the things that you're familiar with. And then when obviously we add this additional layer of AI and all the enhancement that brings and all the productivity use cases that opens up, we felt it was the time now to re-enter that space. So that's a little bit about how we kind of reading the market, seeing what the market conditions are, seeing what we can bring to the market in terms of value add and innovation. And then when the time is right and the partnership is right, is when we kind of came together and brought this idea to life.
So if you've done any research on the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus or watched our review, you probably recognize a couple things that set this Chromebook a little bit apart from some of the other ones. One is the fact that they chose not to go with touchscreen, and the other is why they chose to really emphasize it being so thin and light and having a nice large trackpad. Well, those are really good questions, and so obviously we asked about those things. So
one of the things, and I was hoping that you guys would bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up, is touchscreen. So that was one of the first comments that we got. Is hey, for a Chromebook, the experience on a Chromebook device is almost, it leans into having a touch capability, right? We saw the opportunity. Obviously, it's a clamshell device, so I think touch is a nice to have, but not strictly necessary. Like a 2-in-1, you kind of think, okay, without that, it's almost you're lacking the experience. But it's a matter of trade-off, to your point, right? So we could have potentially introduced a touchscreen on this device. We would have had to add an additional weight to it because it's an additional panel to actually receive the touch capabilities, and that comes with additional expense. which back to the point, we wanted to make sure we hit that 699 price point, as well as it consumes more power. So to run the operation, to run the touch capability requires more juice. And our strategy around it is really thin and light first, so being the thinnest and lightest, and also having the mobility piece, right? The battery life. So this is clocking in at about 13 hours of battery life, which again, I think for what's on the market now is probably one of the higher end performances you're going to get. So
especially with an OLED panel on it.
Exactly, with a FHD AMOLED panel. So it was really around delivering the right experience. And again, we leverage insights in terms of where we see the market going, in terms of configuration, in terms of chipset, in terms of design. But it's then kind of delivering those experiences while keeping it within a reasonable price. And in some cases, it's a difficult decision to make. You have to cut certain features. Alternatively, even though this is coming in at less than a half an inch, it has, I don't know if you guys seen it, a full range of ports. It has full HDMI, USB-C.
The HDMI is wild.
Yeah, the full, and it's full. So it's not one of these the compact ones you got to get a dongle to display. It has audio, the audio jack, 3.5 mil. It has a USB Type A, and even has that micro SD for up to 2 terabytes. So within a space where we have to pick and choose certain features to make sure that we hit the right experience and the right price point, we're still trying to cram it with as many premium features and as much as we can to deliver those experiences. The keyboard is it's not edge to edge, but it's pretty comfortable. It is a keyboard that we've used in other devices, so it's something that we know consumers have good feedback on. Sure. And the trackpad, which is, as you guys can see, is huge, right? And that's one of the other points around not having a touchscreen itself. When a consumer is able to get used to the experience of utilizing this touchpad, this size with this keyboard, the experience is pretty much there. So yeah.
Another thing you might notice about the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus is its size. It's 15.6 inches. And yeah, it's thin and it's light, but that's a larger Chromebook for sure. And you may be wondering to yourself, why did Samsung choose to go with this size for this particular Chromebook?
So again, we're data driven. These decisions come off of us being able to assess market conditions, research, consumer feedback, insights. And we're seeing holistically within the mobile space, so this is smartphones, tablets, there's a general gravitation towards larger screens. As experiences are becoming more immersive, consumers want that additional real estate. So with this device in particular, the 15.6 inch, you can actually have two documents side by side in a visible enough form that you actually are able to work with it. If you want to watch content, you have a full 15.6 inch display to which enjoy it. And one of the pieces of insight that we're just touching on right before I came was when you look at purchase drivers, so PC intenders, what are they looking for when they want to make their jump from their current device to the new device? Screen size, going from their size to a bigger size, is within the top 5 reasons why they're upgrading. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing consumers gravitate more towards larger screen devices. And in the case of Samsung, we're able to actually keep it thin and light. So whereas historically you think, okay, 15.6 inch, I'm going to have 3 or 4 pounds that I have to carry around. It's going to be, an inch thick, and it's going to have a bulky charger. All of that is not the same here. So you can still maintain it super thin. Our charger fits in the palm of your hand. It's fast charging, by the way, so even when the battery is kind of getting a little lower, you're back on your feet in no time. So that's kind of where we decided to opt for that larger screen.
Clearly one of the staples of the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus and other Galaxy Chromebooks that came before it is the screen. And this one specifically is an AMOLED screen. It may seem like a foregone conclusion that Samsung would go with this kind of screen for this particular device, but they've had other Galaxy Chromebooks like the Galaxy Chromebook 2 that was QLED. And so we were curious, why exactly did you choose to go full-blown AMOLED on this one?
Samsung has established a heritage in display, right? It's really coming from our TV display being one of the first to introduce a really high-end OLED AMOLED experience or OLED QLED experience in some cases. And we've tried to bring that to as many premium devices as possible. So we've seen it within our devices. AMOLED, Dynamic AMOLED 2X is on our S24 family. It's on our Galaxy Book 4 family. And again, when we're speaking about this product in particular, and we knew that this was going to be an attempt to make it a more premium device, we want to continue that experience into this device. So it is a full HD, fantastic viewing. You made a good point about the brightness. It's 400 nit, so even though it's conservative, because it's AMOLED, it gives it the look, the lifelike look when you're looking at the deep colors, the vibrant shading. It's 1 millisecond response time. So even though you might be gaming or streaming gaming, the feel is very smooth. It's very responsive. Again, aim to deliver a very premium experience even within a Chromebook environment.
Obviously, some of the design choices Samsung decided to go with here could alienate a handful of people. I mean, obviously, not everybody loves a huge Chromebook, and not everybody wants a device without a touchscreen, and people want convertibles and all that stuff. So really, the question comes down to when you make all of these particular decisions, when you build a device that's this nice and a little bit on the more expensive side, is who'd you build it for?
So definitely keeping it within kind of younger generation. I think consumers that, again, may have had some sort of Chrome experience in their past, whether it's Chrome OS or even just Chrome browser, which are users that, again, are familiar with that experience. Because of the capability of the device, because of the features now around productivity, creativity, creation, entertainment, we see that potentially as students, higher education, so your college or university student, or higher education, MBA students or whatever that might be. I would have perfectly have used this as a device in those years, so I can see that as being sort of the target audience. There's then, as I mentioned, elderly folk. I could totally buy this for my mom. Yeah. And she would maybe take a couple of days to understand a little bit about the UI changes and whatnot, but it's a very limited environment, which is great so that you don't kind of start deleting DLLs on your Windows device and completely destroy it, right? So I can see that, and again, it has all the features that those consumers are looking for. It's got great webcam for you to communicate. It has a great display for you to consume content. It's thin and light and portable, so they can take it wherever they want to go for class or travel or whatever it might be. There are kind of secondary and tertiary markets. We've seen, for example, again, consumers that plain just don't want to have Windows. They don't want to have the burden of that heavy operating system. They have a select number of things that they do on PC devices, and this device or this type of device suits those needs perfectly. So we're seeing that as our primary target consumers for this kind of product.
So hopefully that gives you some insight on why Samsung made some of the decisions they did with the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus. I know for me, now that we're kind of out of the review season for the time being, the Galaxy Chromebook Plus is the device that I've chosen to go back to over and over again. I really do enjoy using this Chromebook and getting to see some of the behind the scenes thinking that went behind the decisions that were made to make this particular device. It's been just kind of enlightening for me, and I hope it's been the same for you. But that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Head down there, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to ring the notification icon as well if you'd like to be alerted when we make future videos just like this one. Until next time, we'll see you.